I guess on the high school topic, just big, not really, I guess, a big update, but with the Power 25, I mean, the first, what is it, 1 through 5 kind of remain the same, but is there anything you want to add before kind of going through some teams?
Well, absolutely, and I think it just speaks to, you know, it wasn't a huge update this week, which it really means like one thing to me. The the really good schools had really good weeks. Because when that happens, when these schools in our Power 25 go undefeated, they either move up or there's not a whole lot of movement that happens. It's when these teams in the Power 25 lose a bunch of games or have it, a 2-2 week. That's when there's a lot of moving and shaking and tough decisions to make, to be honest. And there were still this week some hard decisions to make. But looking at it, the top five remain the same. At the top of the state remains Brother Rice. Like what they are doing right now is just highly impressive. They went 4-0 on the week. They are 23-1. They outscored their opponents 48-9 on the week. Just moving down the list there of our top five, these teams all stayed in the same spot. But you got Brother Rice at number one, then you got Libertyville, then you got McHenry, Manuka, Triad. They all have 20 plus wins and 3 losses or less. Triad comes in at 20-3. They're coming off a 3-0 week. And then right behind them, you got fellow kind of Glen Carbon, Edwardsville area school there, Edwardsville, which really close location to Triad. And then when you start factoring in Father McGivney there too, you got 3 schools that are within like a 10-mile radius that are all sitting in our top 25. But Edwardsville, they're up 2 spots. We mentioned it in weeks past on this podcast. Like, don't let their record fool you. They've been rattling off wins ever since the NHSI. They went 3-0 last week. They are up to 14-6, and they continue to, on paper, have one of the best rosters. And then when we go get our eyes on them, they just continue to impress. But they knocked off Rochester 8-0 last week, and then they also took 2 from Alton. And then you've got Lincoln Way East up 2 spots after a really impressive 4-0 week, including a 10-0 win over 2024 4A state champion Providence Catholic, which I thought was a statement win. But they are 19-4, up 2 spots, and there's some other schools here rising as well.
Yeah, Drew, you mentioned them. Number 8, Father McGivney now. They're up 2 spots, 25-2 on the year. 5-0 week. They're outscoring opponents 284-45. They're 10-0 in conference. And then honestly, probably the most impressive thing of all, 58 runs scored this past week. They only gave up 2 runs. Like that's insane. Obviously, Dane, you've seen them quite a bit. They've got a really talented lineup and depth in their lineup, and then their pitching is obviously very solid as well, and they have pitching depth too. So good stuff there from Father McGivney this past week. They're up to number 8 now.
Yeah, and Gav, I'm going to cut in here because just like looking, they're a 1A school, and they are putting it to 3A and 4A schools. Alton is a really good club. They knocked them off 5-0 last week. Highland has all kinds of arms over there, and they're just a traditionally an extremely good team. They beat them 11-1. And then you go back to last week, like they knocked off Belleville East 12-1, which was a team that, we were looking at very, very closely as far as just the rankings are concerned. Them and Belleville West, so not only are they beating these teams, but like you said, the number of runs they're putting up and what they're doing is just highly impressive. I think they're a team that you could kind of put them up against anybody in this top 10. I think they're going to give them a tough fight.
Totally. Yeah, and I think an awesome 1A matchup would be McGivney and Marquette with like Novotny on the mound, and I think that'd just be an awesome matchup.
Anybody that Father McGivney kind of chooses,
yes.
I feel like gives them a chance to win with how good their lineup is, but I could not be more on the same page.
Yeah.
A little Novotny, Father McGivney, state final, state semi. Let's get something like that going.
Yeah, so Pete, what do you got on some of these other teams in here?
Yeah, moving down here, we got St. Lawrence moving up 2 spots. They're in the top 10 now at number 9. They went 4-0 on the week. They're rolling. They're 20-3 on the year now. They took 2 from St. Rita, and then they also took 2 from Loyola. So yeah, they're rolling. We're really high on them. And then moving down, we got Prairie Ridge. They had a big jump. They're up 5 spots now to number 18 after a 4-0 week. They're 20-5 on the year. They took down Cary Grove, Dundee Crown twice, and then Buffalo Grove as well. So they're another hot one right now. And then looking at some newcomers here, Gav, we got one that we've kind of been eyeing kind of for a while now. Plainfield Central. They're getting in at 20-4. They've had some really good wins on the year, so yeah, they're finally making their debut.
Yeah, and Normal U High coming in at number 23. I mean, they're a solid team that we've kind of been eyeing as well. Pete, throughout the year, they're 18-4 on the season. They had a 2-0 week. They're 6-1 in conference. This past week, they scored 17 runs and only allowed 3. Another Normal team, number 15, Normal Community, but they actually face each other this week, and I think U High is going to kind of have a challenging week coming up with Glenwood, Normal Community, and East Peoria. All 3 really good teams in the Central Illinois region, so we'll see how they fare. But yeah, 18-4, now number 23.
Yeah, they definitely passed the eye test. I got to look at them at the Kickoff Classic. But moving down here, we got St. Francis hopping in at number 24. They're 17-3 on the year. They had a 4-0 week. Took down Aurora Central Catholic twice, and then IC Catholic twice as well. And they got it. We were talking about it earlier. They're just a really, interesting club. They got a former pro coach. Like, they know what they're doing over there. There's a lot to like. And then Mundelein hopping in the 25th spot. They're 15-5 on the year. And they went 3-0 on the week, and they've had some really good wins so far. And their losses came against some really tough teams as well. But they took 2 this week from Warren Township, and then they also took down Carmel.